How many times have you stayed silent, convincing yourself you were being the bigger person, when deep down you knew you were only avoiding the truth? We call it keeping the peace. But what if that peace is nothing more than a quiet surrender that slowly erodes your self-respect? The Stoics taught that silence can be a virtue, but only when it comes from strength, not fear. So, which kind of silence have you been practicing? Welcome to Stoic Blend, where ancient wisdom meets modern life. Today, we're going to explore why avoiding necessary conflict is not a sign of maturity, but a form of self-betrayal, and how reclaiming your voice can restore your dignity, your boundaries, and your inner strength. The comfortable lie we've been told. From childhood, many of us are taught that avoiding arguments makes us wise. Don't argue, they say. Be polite. Keep the peace. The message is clear. Confrontation is bad. Silence is good. And so, we learn to swallow our words, to step back when our boundaries are crossed, to plaster on a smile even when we feel disrespected. We tell ourselves we are being noble, but inside, a different story is unfolding. Because every time you bite your tongue when you should speak, you send yourself a message. My voice doesn't matter. Every time you avoid a necessary conflict, you reinforce the habit of retreat. And slowly, without noticing, you trade self-respect for the illusion of harmony. But here's the truth. Avoiding conflict doesn't build peace, it builds resentment. And resentment is one of the most dangerous poisons to the human spirit. The culture of superficial peace. We live in a world that celebrates surface-level harmony. We praise people for being agreeable, for never making a fuss, for going with the flow. But this isn't always virtue, it's often fear disguised as kindness. Fear of being disliked. Fear of losing approval. Fear of being labeled difficult or selfish. And this fear is reinforced by the values we inherit. The Stoics understood that societies often teach submission as a virtue, not because it is noble, but because it keeps people compliant. Over time, this mindset becomes so normal that you stop questioning it. You begin to believe that speaking your truth is wrong, and staying silent is right even when your silence comes at the cost of your dignity. The origins of the fear of confrontation. To break free from this conditioning, we must first understand it. The Stoics knew that our values are not fixed. They are shaped by history, culture, and the stories we tell ourselves. And throughout history, there have been two dominant moralities. The morality of strength and the morality of fear. Those with strength, physical, mental, or moral valued courage, self-reliance, and direct action. They set boundaries, asserted themselves, and met challenges head-on. Their morality was active. It defined good as anything that reflected strength of character and greatness of spirit. Those without strength did something different. Unable to confront directly, they inverted the values of the strong. They declared humility superior to confidence, submission superior to self-assertion, and silence superior to speaking out. Not because they genuinely believed these traits were better, but because they were the only options available to those unwilling or unable to face confrontation. Over centuries, this inversion of values, what some call slave morality, became ingrained in cultures, families, and personal identities. And so today, many of us instinctively equate confrontation with aggression and passivity with virtue. How this conditioning shapes you. Every time you bow your head instead of speaking your mind, every time you agree to something you don't believe in, every time you avoid an argument to keep the atmosphere pleasant, you are not practicing maturity, you are practicing submission. And the longer you do this, the more it becomes part of who you believe you are. But this isn't your natural state. You weren't born afraid to assert yourself. This fear was taught to you, repeated so many times that it felt like truth. The Stoics would challenge you to see this clearly, to realize that what you've been calling maturity might just be avoidance, that what you think is peace might just be the absence of honesty, the silent poison, resentment. Avoiding conflict does not erase your feelings, it traps them. The anger you suppress doesn't vanish, it turns inward, transforming into resentment. Resentment is the quiet rage you feel when someone crosses a boundary, and you do nothing about it. It's the endless replay of an argument in your head, imagining what you should have said. It's the bitterness that builds every time you pretend something is fine when it's not. The Stoics warned against harboring such poisons. Resentment not only weakens the spirit, it erodes trust in yourself. Because deep down, you know you failed to stand for what mattered. The vicious cycle of avoidance. Here's how the cycle works. You avoid conflict. You feel resentment. Resentment makes you feel weaker. Feeling weaker makes you avoid more conflict. Round and round it goes until one day, you either explode in anger or collapse into apathy. Neither is a Stoic path. Both are signs that you've surrendered control of your inner life. And the most tragic part? You start to build an identity around this pattern. You tell yourself you're the nice one, the forgiving one, the calm one. But underneath, you are the unheard one, the one who has quietly accepted the erosion of their own boundaries. The Stoic way out. The Stoic solution is not to fight every battle, nor to become needlessly combative. It is to reclaim your right to exist with dignity. It is to learn when silence is wisdom, and when silence is cowardice. This begins with small acts. Saying no when you mean no. Speaking up when something violates your values. Holding a boundary even when it's uncomfortable. Each act strengthens your inner spine. Each moment of truth-telling chips away at the habit of submission, the will to act. The Stoics spoke of the natural drive within every living thing to grow, to assert itself, to live fully. This is not aggression, it's life's natural momentum. When you suppress this drive out of fear, it doesn't disappear. It corrodes you from within. The result is passivity, self-pity, and a life half-lived. Recovering this will is essential. It's not about dominating others, it's about refusing to be dominated. It's about living with integrity, standing tall, and speaking your truth without shame. The 3 transformations. To describe the journey from submission to authentic living, the Stoics often used powerful metaphors. One of the most striking is the transformation from the camel to the lion to the child. The camel carries burdens, social expectations, family pressures, cultural conditioning. It endures silently, believing that endurance is virtue. Most people live here for decades. The lion awakens when the burden becomes too heavy. It learns to say no to what diminishes it. It confronts the dragon of inherited commands, those inner voices that say, be nice, avoid conflict, don't stand out. The child emerges after the fight. It is light, creative, and free, not reacting to others, but creating its own path. Conflict no longer defines it. It uses conflict as a tool to shape a life it truly wants. This is the journey you must take if you want to stop living in the shadow of your own silence. Conflict as a crucible for identity. The Stoics understood that conflict is not an enemy, it is a testing ground. It is in conflict that your true values are revealed. What will you defend? What will you let pass? What will you sacrifice for peace, and is it worth the cost? Without confrontation, you never truly know yourself. Without boundaries, you drift. And without courage, you trade authenticity for acceptance. The price of silence. Let's be blunt. Your silence has a price. Every time you avoid necessary confrontation, you pay with a piece of your self-respect. Every unspoken truth is a brick in the wall that separates you from your real self. Every crossed boundary you allow tells the world you have none. Those who act in bad faith notice this. They sense hesitation. They recognize the person who won't speak up, and they exploit it. Silence doesn't just fail to protect you, it marks you as an easy target. Courage in the Stoic sense. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's action in spite of fear. To the Stoics, a person of courage does not seek unnecessary fights. They seek necessary truth. They are willing to risk discomfort for the sake of integrity. They would rather face short-term tension than live with long-term self-betrayal. The question is, which discomfort would you rather endure, the discomfort of a hard conversation, or the slow, soul-draining ache of never speaking your truth? A question that can change you. So the next time you feel yourself retreating into silence, ask, am I truly choosing peace, Or am I avoiding discomfort? Answer honestly, and you will know what you must do. Because you were not made to be an eternal camel. You have the strength of the lion. You have the creativity of the child. You have the power to speak, to set boundaries, to live as you truly are. But none of that will matter until you decide to begin. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Stoic Blend for more timeless wisdom. And when you're ready, continue the journey, because the next lesson will take you deeper into the Stoic tools you can use to live with unshakable integrity.